So I thought I'd do this little video on just some of the different label and cartridge variants in my Atari collection. So I have everything kind of laid out here to pull through them, and made a big mess on my collection shelf, but let's get started. First one from the original Atari games. First set of games released actually look like this. I know these kind of look all similar with the text, but there's actually 6 games released in the first year that Atari came out, and they are actually these guys right here. Not sure where my Air Sea Battle went, but Air Sea Battle, Combat Starship, Indy 500, Street Racer, Video Olympics. And then the next year, they released, looks like 3 more Basic Math, Blackjack, and Surround. I'm not sure why the numberings, I guess I screwed that up putting them on the shelf last time. And then the Combat's here, but you'll see that there's actually slight difference in the colors. The outline is silver for this sort of second year release, versus the line going around the numbers and the letters is the same color in that first year. So if you do have that, that's actually the first year cartridges that came out. And then the ones that people are probably most familiar with, the pack-in game with the console that a lot of people have, this Combat sort of text variant, was kind of late 70s through early 80s. And at some point Atari switched to these picture labels in the early 80s. So probably a lot of people have this Combat too, but this is the one I come across all the time. The one that was packed in with most consoles. So these are the sort of original Atari, so Combat label variants I've got. I think I saw somewhere actually that that this, for super variant collectors, this cartridge alone has like 40 different variants of fonts and where it's made and whatever. But for my purposes, I kind of draw the line at, okay, I've got a text Combat and a Combat of each of these styles. But moving on to sort of the next common thing that people might see a lot of is the difference between telegames, Sears, and sort of the Atari games. So this is Adventure, and again, late 70s, early 80s. I think 82. I don't know, 82 maybe. I'll have to check my facts on this. Is when they went to the color or picture labels. Same game, but just kind of newer labels. But Atari also had a deal with Sears, or Roebuck and Company, or Sears, and so Sears actually released their own Telegames branded games, which was the same game as the Atari game, but just under the Sears label and sold in Sears stores. So you'll see these Telegames, the exact same games again as the text game, just different label, and same thing with the color. With the picture, you'll see the same artwork. It just has these Sears Telegame logo at the top. I think, kind of just zipping over here though, so all these Sears Telegame games are kind of exact same as the Atari game. There was one game, I think Submarine Commander and Cannon Man. I'll have to double check my facts and I'll enter into the comments. I think these are the 2 games that are actually unique to Sears and weren't Submarine Commander and were not released under the Atari label. I'll check my facts though and sort of update that comment. Anyway, those are kind of just the main difference between the Sears and Atari carts. And then over here, I just pulled out picking out Space Invaders. These are, I've got 7 Space Invaders cards. It's all the same game, But same thing. First release of Space Invaders was kind of the text game and the Sears version. Then we had the pick label and the Sears Tel game version of the pick label. Then these are the same. I think in maybe the early to mid 80s, Atari switched to these silver labels for some of the older games, and then some of the newer releases that weren't available with these labels, you'll only see with this silvery label. But a lot of the games that people may be most familiar with, like Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Centipede, E.T., etc., we're only Millipede. I think we're only on these silver labels. And then in the late 80s, to kind of cut costs, they switched to these red labels. So the most recent sort of Atari standard label is this red label, but these are all, again, sort of just regular, same Space Invaders game, just different labels. I want to call out a few other types of label variations you'll see out there. Air Sea Battle, from the pick label, you'll see there's kind of a regular font and then this sort of fat font. So this one's 1987. So again, late 80s, they had some variation in sort of this fatter font, and you'll see it here. Centipede is another one that's interesting. I came across this orange variant, and then have sort of the fatter and the skinnier Centipede labels. But again, these are all the same game otherwise, and generally the same art. It's just the different fonts. A few other games like Maze Craze, actually, at one point there's a release of it where it says a game of cops and robbers in white, which is seems to be, I don't know, 20, 30 times more rare than sort of the orange fonted version. But there are these weird little variants you'll see like that out there. Skydiver is another one I came across where it's same general cover art, though this one's 1986, so again, kind of mid to late 80s after the video game crash. I don't know if it's a production cost thing. It doesn't seem like it would cost any more to print in blue than in white, or not that much more, but different variant there. I share these in the other Video Olympics. It's just interesting that same game is released, same art. So the cover we've got orange, and these two are both yellow, but the end labels green, orange, and yellow. And I don't know, these are all pretty common, so nothing special about any one of these, but just another interesting odd Pac-Man. Otherwise, it's the same game. It's just label art is a little zoomed out and coming out to you. You'll see this on a number of these silver games like Mario Brothers or Pole Position or whatever, where it did have that slightly different label in kind of the later 80s release. A few games had these interesting spelling errors. Pole Position, same game. Pole Position. Actually, this is an example of the different art on the two. You'll see Pole Position. Pole Position. These aren't super rare. I mean, they're definitely less common, but you'll see Pole Position out there. Same game otherwise. And Raiders of the Lost Ark is another one where it actually is different art. It has got this kind of colored Raiders / versus this is the one that almost everyone who had this had is sort of the typical card, but there are these Raiders Lost Ark cartridges out there that these are actually less common than the Pole Position, but not super rare. Yep. Sorry, I jumped away from there. I just pulled out to grab the Breakout. Didn't want to make everyone dizzy, but before Super Breakout, there was Breakout, and before Breakout Pick Label, there was Breakout Text Label. But then they came out with the standard pick label for Breakout, and then again you can see 1986 For Breakout, they had this orange or yellow label that is the only game that has this weird, not weird, but whatever, unique type of label. And then a few others. Track and Field, for whatever reason, gets its own label. It actually came with a separate controller, which I'll go over. We'll do a controller video because I have so many. I'm just reaching over to grab. You know, this is a Konami game, but Konami has a number of other games that all look like this. So have these longer cartridges and the round edge, and you'll always come across the label kind of curling off of this round edge. Doesn't seem to want to stick. But it's a Konami company, but an Atari branded game. And then Starship, actually, you know, was one of the first games released. So you had the original text variants, and then they came out with this unique black label for Starship. And then for Atari, there's actually one other. I just pulled out Pac-Man. This label's coming off a little bit, but same game. But you know, this one's 1987. You'll see, even for some of these, you know, ones where they never did the picture label, Pac-Man little guy is, you know, inside here with his power pellet, but here the power pellet is kind of coming out of the picture and on top of the black label. So again, that's just another example of some of those labels where it's, you know, zooming in and out sort of almost of